Start by asking yourself, what do I really want out of this conversation? Ask when you first think about even having the conversation, ask right before the conversation, and ask anytime you feel yourself getting angry during the conversation. You may think you know the answer to that question when you start a conversation, but explicitly stating it in your mind will focus you in a way that prevents your conversation from going off the rails. You know how difficult conversations tend to start off all right, only to later devolve into a shouting match? The authors of Crucial Conversations suggest that our problem is not that our behavior degenerates, it's that our motives do. We forget what we wanted out of the conversation to begin with, or we never knew. And as things get heated, all we want to do is win, or dominate, or not look stupid. Nailing down your motive beforehand helps you focus and prepare, but being able to remind yourself of your motive in the heat of the moment prevents you from going into attack mode and causing your friends or family to shut down or lash out. The way you direct the conversation is also heavily influenced by your motive. Are you trying to get friends and family to go vegan? Or do you just want them to better understand your ethical viewpoint and not make fun of you all the time? Or maybe you have some other motivation. It's worth noting that several books on this topic all include some version of this piece of advice, with authors ranging from philosophers to sociologists to lawyers and mathematicians. This is a recurring theme in the relevant literature, so take it seriously. Now, before I get to the other 3 tips, I want to talk about this video's focus. The tips in this video have applicability to virtually any type of difficult conversation, but the focus here is on having challenging conversation with friends and family while preserving relationships. I'll be doing more videos in the future with tips for more confrontational tactics, but even if that's your style, there's still value to be gained here. Also, the tips in this video may not seem super fancy or high tech, but that's because virtually everyone sucks at these conversations, and that includes you. These are the fundamentals, and you have to master them first. You have to learn to walk before you can run. Pause and breathe when you feel heated. This isn't a trivial piece of advice. I'm talking a 4 to 8 second breath. I know you're probably saying, yeah, okay, that's just common sense. But is it common practice? When was the last time you actually did that in a heated conversation? You'd remember because the first time you do it, you'll feel super awkward, and it seems like that breath's lasting an eternity. And I know, in heated exchanges, it's tempting to clap back with a witty insult. But when you're angry, the emotional hubs of your brain light up before the logical ones. Breathing deeply not only forces you to pause, research suggests it increases the relative activity and blood flow in those more logical regions. And that can be the difference between remaining calm and persuasive and saying something foolish and embarrassing. Use I statements. I statements are a common tool in conflict resolution and family and marriage counseling. They attempt to highlight problems without creating defensiveness. And the formula goes like this. I feel blank when you blank because I think it means blank. So you might say, I feel sad when you say veganism is silly because it makes me think you don't take my values seriously. The key is to avoid you statements and phrases that blame the other party and to instead focus on how you're feeling. When you say, I feel sad, it's difficult to object to. The person might think the reason you feel sad is unjustified, but it's hard for them to argue that you aren't actually feeling sad. For the second segment, focus on objective, concrete occurrences. If they literally just said veganism is silly, it's difficult for them to deny it when you point it out a few seconds later. Then, in the third statement, ensure you say what it makes you think. So this is subtly, but importantly different from a direct accusation. Saying it makes you think they don't take your values seriously has way different energy than saying you don't take my values seriously. Remember, accusations that generate defensiveness are exactly what you're trying to avoid. Now look, this isn't foolproof. Even the originator of the I statement, Thomas Gordon, had this to say. Although I messages are more likely to influence others to change than you messages, still, it is a fact that being confronted with the prospect of having to change is often disturbing to the changee. Now, there's different variations on the I statement, so if you think this is something you might try, do a little research and see if this formula is the one that fits you best.
I am mad that I can't huff enamel without people assuming it's because my family sucks.
And while this isn't a magic bullet, it'll definitely increase your chances of having a more productive conversation. And before I get to the last tip, know that there's affiliate links for all the books in this video listed below in the description. Amazon will kick back a bit of money to me, which will help me buy equipment like tripods and mics, so I can do some Earthling Ed style activism. Also, check out my Patreon in the description if you'd like to support me, and of course, like and gently press that subscription button. build golden bridges. That is, make the environment safe enough that the person can change their mind without feeling ashamed or embarrassed. This idea comes from the book How to Have Impossible Conversations, written by a mathematician and a philosopher. And quick disclaimer, I've seen one of these authors say quite a bit on Twitter that one could find objectionable. But I will say their book is a great practical resource and is itself largely nonpartisan. But do your research and make sure it's worth it to you to financially support them. Otherwise, you might just peruse it at your local library or Barnes & Noble, if that's still a thing. Or you could just wait for me to put out more videos, since I'll just highlight all the parts of the book I think are useful. So how do we build golden bridges? By saying things like this: this is a tough issue, and there's a lot of confusion surrounding it. Or, no one wants animals to suffer, but it's so easy for all of us to just do what we've always done. If you've never seen or heard this information before, it can be hard to believe at first. I know it was for me. These phrases make your conversation partner feel safe and allow them to change their mind gracefully. Phrases that don't make them feel safe: I knew I'd win you over, or see, I told you, or gotcha.
Ha, gotcha.
You have got me.
This can be tough, especially if, like myself, you really enjoy the competitiveness of debate. But these conversational tweaks will go a long way to establishing more productive interactions and maintaining healthy relationships. Thanks for watching.